This weekend we cooked a leg of lamb and we had quite a lot of lamb left over. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to make a shepherd's pie. So what I've done is already finely diced some lamb, like this. Now you can do this in your food blender. I like it a bit rustic, so I'm not going to chop the hell out of it. I'm just going to chop it into small little dices, and then when we start cooking this will break down, absorb some stock. It'll be quite tasty. What I'm trying to do is just make enough to fit in this bowl here. This is a small Pyrex dish that I'm going to use, and obviously we're going to be using basis of the stock we made earlier. We're going to use some carrots, some celery. I'm going to use a leek this time because I like leek. Slightly tastier than onion to me. A bit of rosemary in it, a bit of bay leaf in it, and we're going to use some of our lamb stock we have going on the boil at the back of the stove, and we're going to let that simmer for a little while, and then we're going to put some mashed potato on the top and bake it in the oven until it goes golden brown on the top. I've already diced some carrot, I've already diced some celery, and what we need to do now is just dice the leek up. Now, to dice a leek, you basically make a cut down to the roots first, turn around, and what happens with leeks, they grow up quite tall and they are quite leafy, and what you need to do is have a look. Let's just make a quarter cut now. Have a look around where the roots are. Make sure there's no soil in between these leaves. And what we're going to do, we're going to give them a wash, even if there aren't any bits of muck there, just in case. Leeks sort of grow about that sort of size, and you can get lots of soil up by the leaf and also down the root where it comes sticking out of the ground. So you need to be careful, just thoroughly check before you do any cutting that it's clean inside and there's no soil. Don't want a soily shepherd's pie. Give that a shake. And all we're going to do is basically chop these, and then we're going to saute them off. Let's just put that down there for 2 minutes. In my pan, I'm going to add some oil, olive oil. A tablespoonful on the hob. Heat up a bit. What we're going to do, we're going to take the leek and the carrots and the celery and just lightly fry them off. Until they soften. You don't really want to put a lot of colour on these when you fry them, so don't fry them too hot. With your fingers, take the end off, and basically run the opposite way to the way the leaves are going. Pull the rosemary off the stalk. You don't want the stalk in your saucepan. And what we're going to do is just lightly chop up the rosemary, bay leaf ready there. Stir that nicely. As I say, we don't want to colour the onions, making them go brown, the leek rather. We don't want to do that. All we want to do is do this for a few minutes just to soften up the carrot and the celery and the leek. What I'm going to do in the meantime, I'm just going to scrape in my rosemary. And I'll chuck a bay leaf in there as well. You need to remember to take out the bay leaf when you've finished. Right, that's looking good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to throw in the lamb that I've got. And all we're going to do now is let the meat, the lamb in this case, brown a little bit. And now that's going nicely. We can add a little bit of salt and pepper. This is the salt. Salt enhances the flavour, as we said. If the chef's done his job properly, you shouldn't need to put salt on it at the table when you have dinner. I'm going to put some pepper in now. And when you think you've added enough pepper, always add some more. As you're cooking, you should always try and taste your food. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a little bit of everything here, see what it tastes like. Because you can always adjust the seasoning. Once you put too much in, you can't take it back out. Now, I'm okay with the salt. And I believe I'm okay with the pepper. I'll just put them up. There we go. That should do something. Now what I'm going to do also is add a little splash of Worcestershire sauce. And finally, I'm going to add 1 ladle full of my lamb stock. Actually, I'm going to have 2 ladles. 2 ladles. Put the lid on there. Turn it around to simmer. Now we can prepare the mashed potatoes. The shepherd's pie base, which is the shredded lamb that I've just diced up, carrots, 2 carrots, 1 leek, 1 stick of celery, which we lightly fried off to colour first. And then we added 2 ladles of our stock that we made earlier, lamb stock, and a little splash of Worcester sauce with some salt and pepper. It's actually quite tasty. I've had a little taste of this. And what we need to do now, before we put the mashed potato on, which is coming along nicely, I've used about 7 potatoes there, because you always want more potato than you need. So I've gone the whole hog, and basically peeled everything in the house. Boil the potatoes for 10 to 15 minutes until they start to break down. And what I haven't done yet, I haven't added some salt. Salt actually makes the water boil at a low temperature, believe it or not. And it also flavours the stock. So I'm going to turn off my lamb and let that cool down before I add it to my bowl. This is the mashed potato. I've already started to mix it, but in here I put about 30 grams of butter, and I'm using a potato masher. There's a bit of milk in here too. You can use cream. Don't forget to add some salt and pepper as you're mashing these things. Every time you're creating a new layer of food, you want to be seasoning that layer you're just creating. So where's the salt and pepper? I'm only going to put a few twists of salt. And I'm going to put in some pepper. If you use white pepper, you won't see the grains in the potato. And you can jazz up your mashed potato. You could put various bits and pieces into it. You can make garlic mash. You boil the mashed potato with a clove of garlic, which will add garlic to the mash. You can put herbs in here. You can chop up a spring onion, put it in. That's quite nice. So all we need to do now, that's cool, is to start spooning our mashed potato over the top of our lamb mince. Now I've deliberately chosen a bowl that's bigger for my mash and my lamb mince, because whenever I cook these I always use the right size one and it always bubbles over the side. You could also jazz this mashed potato up a bit by putting a bit of cheese in it. That's not really a classical lamb shepherd's pie to me. Or you could put an egg yolk into the mashed potato after you've mashed it up. Just an egg yolk, adds a bit of richness to the flavour. Put this in the oven at 200 degrees for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, until the top goes golden brown. And there's your shepherd's pie. This is the shepherd's pie that we've taken out of the oven after 25 minutes on 200 degrees. It's looking lovely. Potatoes golden on the top, the little crusty bits where we forked the potato into peaks, and it's actually looking very tasty. Shepherd's pie in next to no time from leftovers. Not a bad morning's work.